Do You Dare Sleepwalk in Silent Hill? Scary story published by Scare Fiction. Chapter 1. Echoes in the Fog. The rhythmic click of rain against the attic window was Amelia's lullaby. At 28, with a job at the quaint local bookstore and a cat named Poe, who purred like a rusty engine, her life had the comfortable predictability of a well-worn paperback. Yet, lately, the pages seemed smudged with unsettling shadows. It started with the dreams, nightmares, recurring like a scratched record of a town shrouded in mist, its streets echoing with whispers too faint to grasp. Buildings, monstrous silhouettes against a blood-red sky, watched with empty eyes. Then came the sleepwalking, waking, disoriented, at the edge of the woods behind her house, mist clinging to her skin like a cold kiss. And the whispers, oh, the whispers. Faint murmurs on the wind, just on the edge of hearing, carrying a name she couldn't quite decipher. Amelia wasn't one for superstition, but a creeping unease settled in her gut like a bad penny. The rain, once a source of comfort, now seemed to whisper the same secrets as her dreams. Even Poe, usually a master of feline indifference, would arch his back and hiss at the fog that sometimes drifted down the street, his emerald eyes wide with a primal fear she couldn't understand. Then came the map, tucked into an old travel guide she'd bought on a whim, its yellowed paper brittle with age. Marked with a red circle, a place name leaped out, Silent Hill. The same name from the dreams, the whispers. A town Amelia only vaguely remembered from childhood rumors, a place everyone whispered about, but no one dared visit. A sudden, inexplicable urge gnawed at her. It wasn't curiosity, nor was it fear. It was a pull, a gravitational force drawing her into that shrouded town, like a moth to a flame. Amelia knew it was irrational, bordering on insane, yet every fiber of her being craved answers. The nightmares, the whispers, the map, they were pieces of a puzzle she desperately needed to solve. So, on a day when the fog clawed at the edge of town, obscuring the familiar sights with tendrils of mystery, Amelia made a decision. She packed a suitcase, more out of habit than necessity, and left a note for Poe, a promise to be back before his next tuna dinner. As she drove towards the edge of the mist, the highway signs blurring into spectral shapes, a voice inside her whispered, "This is where the story begins." The fog grew thicker, swallowing the world in shades of gray. The radio sputtered and died, replaced by an eerie silence, broken only by the rhythmic scrape of the windshield wipers against the veil of white. The road ahead seemed to stretch into infinity, a path leading into the unknown. Then, in the distance, a flicker of light pierced the fog. A dilapidated neon sign blinked erratically, spelling out "Welcome to Silent Hill." Amelia took a deep breath, her heart pounding a frantic tattoo against her ribs. This was it. The point of no return. Pushing the gas pedal down, she crossed the threshold into the mist, leaving behind the world she knew and stepping into the pages of a nightmare waiting to unfold. Chapter 2. Gateway to Nightmare. Silent Hill was not a town. It was a wound in reality, a gaping maw choked by an ever-present fog. Amelia's headlights cut through the swirling mist, slicing into the town's decaying heart. Streets cracked like broken ribs, buildings stood like decaying teeth, and silence, thick and suffocating, pressed down like a shroud. Each flickering streetlight seemed to mock her arrival, casting grotesque dancing shadows that writhed on the broken pavement. Whispers, like the rustling of dead leaves, slithered through the fog, their source impossible to pinpoint. The air carried the metallic tang of blood and the cloying sweetness of decay, a nauseating perfume that clung to her skin. A gust of wind tore through the street, whipping the mist into a frenzy. For a fleeting moment, it ripped open the veil, revealing a glimpse of the town beneath. Twisted metal sculptures, skeletal remains of amusement park rides, clawed at the sky like tortured giants. Grotesque caricatures of faces, leered from crumbling billboards, their vacant eyes seeming to follow Amelia's every move. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, the fog slammed shut, plunging the street back into an oppressive darkness. Panic snaked its way up Amelia's throat, icy fingers squeezing her heart. This wasn't a town. It was a living nightmare, and she was trapped inside. The rhythmic click of her heels against the broken pavement echoed in the suffocating silence. Every creak of a rusted shutter, every groan of a wind-battered sign sent shivers down her spine. Suddenly, a disembodied voice cut through the gloom, a raspy whisper that sent chills down her spine. "Turn back," it rasped, "before the nightmares devour you." Amelia spun around, heart hammering against her ribs. The street was empty, the voice nowhere to be seen. Was it just her imagination playing tricks? Or was someone, something, watching her from the shadows? Driven by a morbid curiosity, Amelia continued her macabre pilgrimage. She stumbled upon a boarded-up diner, its windows darkened, but for a single flickering neon sign that buzzed erratically, casting the scene in a sickly green glow. A crudely spray-painted message adorned the wall: "Abandon all hope, yeah, who enter here." A sudden shriek, piercing and raw, ripped through the night. Amelia jumped, her hand instinctively flying to the pepper spray tucked in her bag. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, a banshee's wail echoing through the labyrinthine streets. Then, in the distance, a flicker of movement. A hunched figure, shrouded in the fog, darted across an alleyway. Amelia's breath hitched, fear turning her legs to lead. She wanted to run, to flee this waking nightmare, but her feet seemed rooted to the spot. As the figure emerged from the mist, the streetlight cast its distorted silhouette onto the wall. It was tall and gaunt, its limbs impossibly thin, its head shrouded in darkness. Amelia could sense its eyes, burning like embers in the gloom, fixed on her with a predatory hunger. "Help," it rasped, its voice a dry croak. Amelia's mind screamed for her to turn and run, but something, some morbid sliver of empathy, held her rooted to the spot. Was this the lone survivor, the one who had uttered the cryptic warning? "Who are you?" she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. The figure remained motionless, its shadowed eyes boring into her. Then, with a sudden, jerky movement, it lunged. Amelia shrieked, adrenaline surging through her veins. She sidestepped just in time, the creature's skeletal hand brushing past her cheek, leaving a trail of icy cold across her skin. Without waiting to see what else lurked in the shadows, Amelia broke into a run. Her lungs burned, her legs screamed, but she didn't dare stop. Chilling laughter of the creature echoed behind her, a macabre soundtrack to her flight. As she sprinted through the fog-choked streets, Amelia knew one thing for certain: the gateway to Silent Hill was not the beginning of her nightmare. It was merely the first step into a living hell, and the horrors that awaited her within were only just beginning. Chapter 3: Haunting Memories. The fog had become Amelia's new lullaby, a chilling symphony that lulled her into a restless oblivion. She woke with a gasp, moonlight carving harsh shadows across the dusty floor of what seemed like an abandoned church. Panic clawed at her throat, sharp and suffocating. Where was she? How did she get here? A faint memory flickered like a dying ember, sleepwalking, drawn by an unseen force deeper into the heart of Silent Hill. Shame and fear intertwined in her gut, a familiar taste left over from childhood nights spent wandering, lost, and disoriented. But this felt different. This had purpose, a macabre pilgrimage towards something hidden in the fog. The church, with its stained glass windows, shattered like spilled jewels, and pews devoured by dust and decay, whispered of forgotten prayers and unspoken sin. Each step echoed in the cavernous space, a hollow drumbeat against the silence. In the dim moonlight, a crucifix hung askew, the Christ figure's empty eyes seeming to follow her every move. A sudden creak, the wood groaning like a tortured soul, sent her heart into overdrive. Amelia spun around, pepper spray clutched in her sweaty palm, searching for the source of the sound. Was she alone? Or was this desolate church a hunting ground for unseen horrors? Then, a chilling echo resonated in the hollow chamber, a child's laughter, tinged with an edge of hysteria. It danced through the shadows, taunting, drawing her deeper into the church's labyrinthine depths. Memories, long buried under layers of denial, began to crack like fractured ice. A flickering image, a playground bathed in twilight, carousel horses frozen in mid-gallop, the air thick with the smell of popcorn and fear. A little girl, eyes wide with terror, clutching a worn teddy bear, calling out for a name that stuck in Amelia's throat, lost and forgotten. The laughter echoed again, closer this time, leading her down a narrow staircase towards the church's crypt. Bile rose in her throat as she stumbled into the dank, bone-chilling space. Cobwebs clung to the walls like macabre tapestries, and the air hung heavy with the cloying scent of decay. A single flickering candle illuminated a row of mausoleums, their names etched in the cold stone like epitaphs for forgotten souls. One name, however, sent a searing jolt through Amelia. It was the name from the dream, the whisper clinging to the fog, the key she desperately sought. As she traced the inscription with trembling fingers, a wave of memories crashed over her like a tidal wave. The hospital, sterile and white, a constant hum of machines, masking the stench of antiseptic and grief. A figure, shrouded in white, a gentle voice whispering goodbye, my darling, before fading into the sterile haze. And then, a park, shrouded in mist, the rusted skeleton of a roller coaster, scraping the blood-red sky. The laughter, hysterical and raw, echoing through the abandoned metal maze. A name, a plea, lost in the fog. Amelia sank to the cold stone floor, the weight of revelation crushing her. Silent Hill wasn't just a nightmare. It was a mirror reflecting her own fractured past. The missing loved one, the childhood trauma, the echoes of an unseen tragedy, they were all woven into the very fabric of this cursed town. But why? Why was she drawn here, forced to confront the ghosts of her past in this grotesque carnival of horrors? The answer, she knew, lay deeper within the fog, waiting to be unearthed in the shadows of Silent Hill. Each haunted location, a fragment of a broken memory, leading her closer to the truth, however painful it might be. With a ragged breath, Amelia rose to her feet, the memories burning like brands on her soul. She wasn't here just to survive. She was here to face the demons she'd spent years buried under layers of denial. And even though the fog choked her lungs and the shadows whispered menacing threats, Amelia knew one thing for certain. She wouldn't allow fear to consume her. The past, however horrifying, was hers to confront, and Silent Hill, with its grim embrace, was the crucible where she would finally forge her own redemption. Chapter 4. Unmasking the Darkness. The rusted Ferris wheel creaked against the blood-red sky, its skeletal silhouette a monument to lost joy. Amelia stood beneath it, the icy wind whispering secrets through the shattered metal spokes. Silent Hill, even in broad daylight, held a chill that seeped into your bones, a constant reminder of the darkness lurking beneath the fog. She wasn't alone anymore. The town, drawn by her presence, had begun to reveal its inhabitants. Lost souls, trapped in their own personal nightmares, each a piece of the shattered puzzle that was Silent Hill. There was Ethan, a haunted soldier, his eyes reflecting the horrors of a battlefield unseen. Lisa, a grieving mother, her cries echoing through the empty streets, searching for a child forever lost. And then there was Maya, a woman shrouded in shadow, her whispers hinting at an ancient knowledge, a guardian of secrets yet to be revealed. Through their broken narratives, Amelia began to piece together the town's tragic history. A cult, obsessed with dark rituals, had sought to merge the physical realm with the spirit world. A child, caught in their twisted web, became the conduit, her innocence ripped apart to fuel their ambition. But something went wrong. The ritual backfired, tearing reality apart and unleashing the horrors that now festered in the fog. Fear gnawed at Amelia, a constant companion in this waking nightmare. Doubt whispered in her ear, questioning her purpose, her sanity. Why her? Why was she drawn to this place, forced to confront the nightmares of strangers and her own buried shadows? But amidst the doubt, a flicker of hope ignited. She could see it in Ethan's steely resolve, in Lisa's desperate love, in Maya's cryptic wisdom. This town, this prison of souls, needed more than just a witness. It needed a champion, someone to fight back against the darkness, to help its lost souls find redemption, even if it meant facing her own inner demons. The whispers on the wind intensified, morphing into chilling chants, the echoes of the cult's ritual. The air grew thick with a malevolent energy, the fog swirling in anticipation. Maya's eyes, usually veiled in shadow, burned with an urgent light. "The ritual site," she rasped, her voice laced with dread. "They're trying again." Ethan's hand clasped Amelia's, his calloused fingers grounding her in the moment. "We stopped them," he growled, his voice a weapon against the encroaching darkness. Fear still tugged at Amelia, but it was dwarfed now by a newfound determination. This wasn't just about uncovering the truth about Silent Hill. It was about offering solace to the tormented souls trapped within, about disrupting the cycle of pain and despair. It was about taking responsibility, about confronting the darkness, both within and without, and giving the town and its lost souls a chance at peace. Together, they stepped into the swirling mist, drawn towards the heart of the darkness, the beating black heart of Silent Hill. They knew the danger was immense. The cost might be their own souls, but as they crossed the threshold, Amelia felt a strange sense of calm. This wasn't just a descent into madness. It was a fight for redemption, a chance to break free from the shackles of the past and forge a new path, not just for themselves, but for the tortured souls of Silent Hill. The battle lines were drawn, the game afoot, and Amelia, armed with newfound strength and the fragile bond of her comrades, was ready to play. Chapter 5. Whispers of the Other Side. The wind, laced with whispers like barbed wire, clawed at Amelia's cloak as she approached the ruined cathedral. Its skeletal silhouette sprawled against the blood-red sky, a gaping maw in the fabric of reality. Inside, shadows writhed, mocking the remnants of stained glass clinging to shattered windows. Ethan and Lisa flanked her, faces taut with apprehension. They clutched flickering torches, their flames casting grotesque caricatures of their fears on the crumbling masonry. Maya, cloaked in shadow, circled the perimeter, her murmured chants a shield against the encroaching darkness. In the center of the nave, chalk symbols glowed with an unnatural luminescence, forming a sigil that pulsed with malevolent energy. This was the nexus, the heart of Silent Hill's torment, birthed from the collective pain of its lost souls. The whispers, amplified within these hallowed walls, clawed at Amelia's mind, promises of oblivion tempting her like poisoned candy. She gripped the worn Ouija board tighter, its planchette cold and heavy in her palm. This relic of parlor games felt oddly weighty in the shadow of such profound darkness. Yet it was also a tether, a bridge between worlds, whispering the secrets the living couldn't hear. As Ethan and Lisa drew a protective circle around the sigil, Maya's chant reached a crescendo, the air crackling with raw power. With a deep breath, Amelia placed her fingertips on the planchette, its surface slick with her fear. The whispers became screams, a cacophony of grief and rage resonating through her bones. The planchette twitched, then danced across the board, spelling out a single word, welcome. The temperature plummeted, and the screams morphed into chilling laughter. A figure materialized within the sigil, its form shifting like smoke on the wind. It had no clear features, just a gaping maw lined with needle-like teeth and eyes that burned with cold, malevolent fire. This was the heart of Silent Hill, the embodiment of its festering darkness. It radiated pure hatred, a tidal wave of despair threatening to engulf them whole. But Amelia stood her ground, the fear a cold knot in her stomach, but her resolve unwavering. This was her burden, her challenge, to face the darkness not just for herself, but for the countless souls trapped within this nightmare. Focusing her will, she pressed her fingers against the planchette, channeling defiance into the ancient conduit. The entity convulsed, its form flickering precariously. The whispers, once a chorus of torment, now wavered, laced with doubt and fear. With a final, earth-shattering scream, the entity dissolved, swallowed by the luminescent sigil. Silence descended, thick and heavy, broken only by the ragged gasps of their breaths. They had won, not through brute force, but through unity, through the strength of their spirits. But the victory was bittersweet. The entity was gone, but the darkness still lingered, a wound upon the fabric of reality. Amelia could feel it seeping into her bones, a chilling reminder that their battle was far from over. As they left the ruined cathedral, the first rays of dawn painted the sky a sickly yellow. Maya lingered, her dark eyes fixed on Amelia. The heart is quieted, but the darkness remains, she murmured, her voice a whisper on the wind. Be vigilant, for even the faintest ember can rekindle the flame. Amelia nodded, the weight of Maya's words settling heavily on her heart. They had taken a step back from the abyss, but the path ahead was fraught with peril. Silent Hill's nightmares weren't easily silenced, and the echoes of her own past still whispered in the shadows, waiting for their chance to rise again. The journey had just begun. Chapter 6. Confronting the Past. The luminescent sigil pulsed at the center of the ruined cathedral, a gateway carved not in stone, but in Amelia's shattered memory. Ethan and Lisa stood flanking her, their faces taut with concern, but this was a journey she had to take alone. Stepping into the sigil, she felt reality warp, the familiar stone walls dissolving into a swirling vortex of mist and memories. She found herself on a carousel, its skeletal horses prancing in a macabre waltz under a bruised and purple sky. Laughter echoed, shrill and cruel, a twisted parody of childhood joy. Was this the abandoned park from her dreams? As she approached a rusted carousel horse, its painted smile stretched into a grotesque leer, a fragment of memory surfaced. A little girl, clutching a worn teddy bear, tears streaming down her face, calling out for someone unseen. The name, a whisper on the wind, refused to form on Amelia's lips. Pushing forward, She stumbled into a sterile white room, the hum of machines blending with the rhythmic beep of a heart monitor. A hospital bed, empty now, stood cold and accusing. Was this where her loved one lay? Was this why Silent Hill clung to her, echoing a grief she wouldn't allow herself to feel? Suddenly, a figure materialized, cloaked in white, their face obscured by shadows. Was this the doctor? The nurse? Or someone more? In the figure's outstretched hand, she saw the worn teddy bear, its faded fur crusted with tears. As Amelia reached for it, the figure dissolved, replaced by a distorted mirror reflecting a younger version of herself, eyes wide with terror. The missing name burst into her mind, sharp and painful, Lily. Her little sister, lost in the fog, consumed by the darkness she herself had unknowingly conjured. The realization hit her like a physical blow. Silent Hill wasn't just a malevolent entity. It was a manifestation of her own repressed guilt, the shadow of a tragedy she'd buried deep within. Lily's screams, the whispers in the fog, the haunting echoes, they were all threads woven from the tapestry of her denial. The realization ignited a flicker of anger, hot and raw. How could she have been so blind? How could she have abandoned her sister to this horror, even if it was unintentional? Grief, long smothered, erupted within her, a tidal wave of tears washing away the years of denial. But beneath the grief, a spark of defiance ignited. Lily was lost, but maybe, just maybe, she could be redeemed. This town, this prison of souls, wasn't just about confronting her past. It was about setting things right, offering her sister a chance at peace, even if it meant confronting the darkest corners of her own soul. Emerging from the vortex of memories, Amelia found herself back in the ruined cathedral. Ethan and Lisa rushed to her side, their faces etched with concern, their hands offering silent support. She looked at them, her eyes brimming with tears, but her voice firm. "I know what we have to do," she said, her voice hoarse but resolute. "Lily is here, trapped in Silent Hill's embrace. We have to find her, bring her back from the darkness." Ethan and Lisa met her gaze, their faces determined. They had come this far together, faced horrors beyond imagining, and now they would stand beside her as she confronted the demons of her past, not just for Lily, but for herself, for a chance at redemption in the heart of Silent Hill's nightmare. With a newfound resolve, they stepped back into the swirling mist, ready to dive deeper into the abyss, not just to fight the darkness, but to heal the wounds that had birthed it. The journey ahead would be fraught with peril, but for Amelia, the only way forward was through the darkness, towards the flickering light of forgiveness and hope. Chapter 7. Descent in Madness. Fog bled into dream, reality unraveling at the edges. Amelia found herself back in the abandoned church, the skeletal crucifix looming over her like a mockery of faith. Sunlight streamed through the shattered windows, but it held no warmth, only a sickly yellow hue that painted the dust motes swirling in the air like tormented souls. Was she awake? Asleep? The lines had blurred, her sense of time fractured like broken glass. Each night, she woke in unfamiliar corners of Silent Hill, her body aching, memories of the waking world slipping through her fingers like mist. The whispers on the wind intensified, worming their way into her thoughts, twisting truths into barbed lies. "You brought this upon yourself," they hissed. "This is your punishment, your prison of regret." Self-doubt, a poisonous viper, coiled in her gut, its fangs sinking deeper with each taunting whisper. Lily's face, pale and accusing, haunted her every waking. Or was it sleeping? Moment, the guilt, a festering wound, bled into her dreams, staining the fog with shades of crimson. "Why did you leave me?" The specter of her sister cried, her voice echo with the despair of the abyss. Ethan and Lisa were distant beacons in this swirling tempest of guilt and doubt. Their worried faces, glimpsed through the fog, were anchors to reality, but even their outstretched hands seemed to fade at the edges of her vision. The entity, ever present, a shadow puppeteer, orchestrated the macabre symphony of her torment. It manifested in her fears, slithering into nightmares as a monstrous reflection of her own self-loathing. It whispered promises of oblivion, a seductive darkness inviting her to surrender to the madness. One night, she found herself standing on the precipice of a crumbling amusement park tower. Below, the rusted metal bones of roller coasters clawed at the blood-red sky. The wind whipped at her hair, carrying the echo of Lily's laughter, laced with an edge of hysteria. "Join me," the entity crooned, its voice a velvet shroud over her mind. "This pain, this guilt, it will never leave you. Let go. Embrace the dark. It's the only way to end this." Despair, a suffocating weight, pressed down on Amelia's chest. The line between surrender and self-destruction seemed to blur into a single, enticing abyss. Was this her fate, to be consumed by the darkness she'd unleashed? Then, a flicker of defiance. A faint echo of Ethan's unwavering gaze, Lisa's fierce spirit, and most importantly, Lily's memory, not as a ghost of blame, but as a beacon of hope, a reminder of the love that had birthed her own strength. Amelia raised her head, meeting the entity's gaze with a newfound fire in her eyes. "No," she rasped, her voice hoarse but resolute. "I will not yield. I will face this darkness, for Lily, for myself, for the souls trapped within this nightmare." The entity recoiled, its form flickering the face of her defiance. The whispers, losing their venomous edge, retreated to the shadows. The wind picked up, swirling around her like a cleansing storm, carrying away the fog and doubt. In that moment, on the precipice of despair, Amelia made a choice. She would not succumb to the madness. She would fight, not just for survival, but for redemption, for the fragile hope that even in the heart of Silent Hill, a spark of light could pierce the darkness and guide her way back to the dawn. As the first rays of sunlight broke through the blood-red sky, painting the fog with a shimmering hope, Amelia took a step back from the edge. The path ahead was still shrouded in mist, but she no longer walked it alone. The echoes of her past, once shackles of guilt, now served as stepping stones towards her future. The descent into madness had been agonizing, but it had also been a crucible. It had forged within her a resilience she hadn't known she possessed, a fire that would light her way through the remaining chapters of her nightmare, and hopefully to the long-awaited sunrise. Chapter 8. Awakening from the Nightmare. Dawn had never felt so precious. Sunlight, filtering through the shattered windows of the abandoned hospital, painted Amelia's sweat-streaked face with a warm, reassuring glow. The nightmare, the descent into madness, it hadn't consumed her. She was awake, battered but unbroken, and this sliver of victory tasted like redemption. She wasn't alone. Ethan sat beside her, his face etched with weariness, but his eyes filled with quiet admiration. Lisa, perched on the windowsill, scanned the fog-swathed horizon, her shotgun held loosely but firmly. They had been through the crucible together, and in their shared scars, Amelia found an unexpected solace. Whispers echoed in the hallways, not the taunts of the entity, but the murmurs of other lost souls. Drawn by the embers of hope that flickered within Amelia, they emerged from the shadows, a haunted soldier, a grief-stricken mother, a weary artist, their eyes reflecting the same desperation, the same flicker of defiance. They spoke of fragmented memories, glimpses of a hidden power within Silent Hill, a force capable of counteracting the entity's darkness. A power, they whispered, that resided within those touched by the town's tragedy, within Amelia herself. Hesitantly, Amelia reached out, channeling the raw desperation, the burning need to protect Lily, to mend the shattered fabric of Silent Hill. An energy, warm and vibrant, hummed within her, responding to her will. It wasn't darkness, not the entity's seductive touch, but a flicker of pure, untamed light. The shadows in the corner stirred, tendrils of darkness coalescing into monstrous forms. The entity, sensing her defiance, unleashed its minions, their roars shattering the fragile silence. But this time, Amelia and her newfound allies stood their ground. Ethan's blade, imbued with Lisa's unwavering focus, carved through the shadows. The soldier, fueled by a phantom flame of courage, held the line with grit and steel. The artist, her paints shimmering with forbidden power, wove illusions that confounded and disoriented the darkness. And Amelia, her voice amplified by the echoes of the lost souls, unleashed the light within. It flowed from her fingertips, banishing the shadows, mending the torn fabric of reality. Buildings creaked back into alignment, shattered glass reformed. The battle was far from over. The entity, its form flickering with rage, unleashed a final, desperate assault. Amelia faltered. The wellspring of light within her threatened to be extinguished by the sheer force of its malice. But then, the voices rose around her, a chorus of defiance resonating through the air. Lily's laughter, no longer the phantom of her guilt, but a beacon of love, fueled Amelia's resolve. The faces of her companions, etched with pain and hope, mirrored her own struggle. This wasn't just her fight. It was theirs, a collective cry for redemption, a shared defiance against the darkness. With a final, agonizing push, Amelia poured the last vestige of her light into a wave of pure energy. The entity howled in fury, its form writhing and dissolving as the fog itself receded, revealing the skeletal city bathed in the soft, tentative light of dawn. Exhaustion crashed over Amelia, but she didn't fall. Ethan and Lisa caught her, their smiles etched with relief and a newfound respect. The other lost souls, faces awash with wonder, stepped out of the shadows, blinking in the unfamiliar sunlight. Silent Hill wasn't free yet. The wounds ran deep, the scars would take time to heal. But for the first time, hope bloomed brighter than the flames of the rising sun. They had tasted victory, a flicker of light against the encroaching darkness. And within Amelia, amidst the echoes of her past, a new power had awakened, a testament to resilience, a beacon of hope in the heart of the nightmare. This wasn't the end. It was a new beginning, a fight not just for survival, but for the very soul of Silent Hill, a fight they would face together, with the flicker of their shared light guiding them into the dawn. Chapter 9. Breaking the Cycle. The skeletal cathedral pulsed with malevolent energy, the warped stained glass windows casting grotesque shadows on the sigil at its heart. This was it, the nexus of Silent Hill's torment, the birthing ground of the entity that fed on Amelia's deepest regrets. But this time, she wasn't a pawn. She was a warrior, ready to sever the connection that poisoned this town. Ethan and Lisa stood guard at the entrance, their faces grim, their weapons drawn. Behind them, the whispers of the lost souls resonated, a chorus of fear and hope clinging to the air. Amelia knew she carried their burden, their silent pleas fueling her resolve. As she stepped into the sigil, the air shifted, thickening with despair. The entity materialized, a writhing mass of shadow and anguish, its form mimicking Amelia's own, but twisted into a caricature of pain. Your fear, your doubt, your memories, they are mine. Its voice rasped, a chorus of tormented souls woven into a chilling harmony. Embrace the darkness, become one with me, and Silent Hill will be ours. Memories, fragmented and raw, assaulted Amelia. Lily's laugh, her tear-stained cheeks, the chilling echoes of a ritual gone wrong. Each fragment fueled the entity, its form solidifying, growing stronger. Yet, within the storm of self-loathing, Amelia found an anchor: Lily's warmth, Ethan's unwavering gaze, Lisa's fierce protection. These were not regrets, but embers of love, courage, and defiance. With each positive memory she unearthed, the sigil pulsed, not with darkness, but with a light born from within. The entity weakened, its form flickering, its voice losing its menacing tone, but it wouldn't surrender easily. It lashed out, exploiting Amelia's deepest vulnerabilities. Ethan, drawn by her pain, rushed into the sigil, the entity seizing its opening. A scream, raw and agonizing, ripped through the air as the darkness latched onto Ethan, its tendrils of despair seeping into his soul. Amelia watched in horror as her friend, her companion, became a conduit for the entity's rage. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. She had a choice: fight the entity directly and risk Ethan's life, or sever the link, the very source of its power, even if it meant sacrificing her tie to Silent Hill, her chance to redeem Lily. The decision tore at her, but Lily wouldn't want this. Ethan wouldn't want this. They would rather see Silent Hill freed, even if it meant losing her. With a heart heavy with grief and resignation, Amelia reached out, not towards the entity, but towards the sigil, the source of her connection to this town. The pain was excruciating, a tearing away of a part of her soul, but she held strong, channeling her love for Lily, her hope for their shared future, into the act of severing the link. The cathedral trembled, the sigil glowing with blinding light. The entity screamed, a cacophony of tormented souls, then imploded upon itself, dissolving into wisps of darkness that dissipated in the sunlight streaming through the shattered windows. Silence descended, thick and heavy. Amelia collapsed, drained, tears mingling with the sweat on her face. When she opened her eyes, she saw Lisa kneeling beside her, Ethan lying near, his face pale but peaceful. He coughed, his eyes fluttering open, their gaze meeting in a silent understanding. Silent Hill wasn't a paradise yet. The wounds were deep, the scars would take time to heal. But the fog was receding, the shadows thinning. Laughter, hesitant at first, then bolder, began to echo through the city, the sound of life returning. Amelia knew her journey wasn't over. She would leave Silent Hill, carrying the weight of her past and the bittersweet memory of sacrifice. But she also carried hope, the knowledge that even in the deepest darkness, a flicker of light can break the cycle, not just for Silent Hill, but for herself, and for all those who had dared to defy the nightmare. As the sun climbed higher, painting the sky in hues of gold and hope, Amelia turned her back on the skeletal cathedral, and with one last glance at the city slowly reclaiming its life, she whispered, "Goodbye, Silent Hill. You'll always be a part of me, but now it's time to let go." And with that, she took Ethan's hand, Lisa at her side, and they walked out of the nightmare, stepping into the uncertain but hopeful light of the dawn.